Hello and welcome to the Real World Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to give us a like, hit that thumbs up button. Also, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the bell beside the subscribe button so that you can get notifications of all the videos we do here at the Real World. If you're a movie fan or you know other movie fans, you'll no doubt get a lot out of this channel. On episode 15 of the Real World Podcast, we're going to talk all about the new movie Prey. We're going to talk about the new movie 13 Lives. Also going to talk about Bullet Train, the new Brad Pitt movie. We're also going to talk about our favorite Brad Pitt movies, our favorite Ron Howard movie, since he directed 13 Lives, and the Predator franchise as well. So stick around. It's going to be a lot of fun. And on this episode 15 of the Real World Podcast, I'm joined again by Bert, who took the week off last week. How you doing?
Hey, I'm fantastic. Glad to be back.
Absolutely. Good to have you. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and jump into some movie news to get us kicked off. All right, so kicking things off in the movie news category here, we wanted to start with the Oppenheimer trailer. So this new trailer dropped. It actually was attached. I can't believe I forgot to mention it when I talked about Nope, because it was attached to Nope. That was actually the first time they put the trailer out there. Before they put it online or anything, it was attached to Nope the weekend it was released. So I got to see it in the theater, which was pretty neat. And look, this is a Nolan movie, so it's an event. His movies have kind of become events. He's one of those few directors that can do that, create a lot of hype just with a very short teaser. I mean, this teaser really doesn't show you much, kind of just very much teases what it's going to be, this kind of 1940s World War II era story about this real person, obviously, who lived back then and was instrumental in one of the biggest events in human history. So the trailer, did you get to watch it? Did you go to the Universal YouTube channel to watch it, or did you?
I think I found some rando trailer site that had it on YouTube.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure I saw the actual, it's a 2-minute trailer, but it is more of a teaser, of course.
Right. So if you go to the Universal, it's one of his first movies he's made with Universal. He usually makes them with Warner Brothers. But if you go to Universal Pictures YouTube channel, it's actually a live video. So there's a countdown at the bottom of the screen that's actually a live countdown to the release of the film.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's gonna be up
like 300 something days left, and
right, exactly. Yeah, it's counting down days, hours, minutes, seconds. It's pretty incredible. So yeah, it was neat that they did that.
They're clearly hyping it, and they should, because he's in that category, like you're talking about, of the best directors that are out there. So
exactly, yeah. And what's cool about it is I'm a huge fan of black and white, and this is the first ever IMAX film shot in black and white. And I don't know if
Oppenheimer is.
Yeah, I don't know if the whole film will be black and white or not, but I know most of the teaser is. There's a couple shots of like an explosion, which is in color. So I'm wondering how he's going to do that. If he's going to make parts color, parts black and white. I'm very curious to see how it turns out, because, like I said, I'm a big fan of classic films, old movies, and they're all mostly in black and white. So I'm really interested to see what he does. His first film, I don't know if you've seen, it's called Following.
I have not seen Following. I'm aware of it, but I have not seen it. That's also black and white, right?
It is. It's all black and white. That was the first movie he made. I mean, shoestring budget, he had, very little to work with, but it's worth checking out because, that one is also black and white.
That's the one of his I haven't seen, I think.
Yeah, most people haven't, because it is a little bit difficult to find, I think. Although you might could find it streaming now somewhere. But Oppenheimer, I'm very excited about it. Not just for Nolan, not just for the biopic nature of it, not just for how it's shot, but the cast is incredible. Did you get to look at this cast?
Yeah.
Right. It's Cillian Murphy as the Oppenheimer, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., who I think is the one doing the narration in the trailer.
Oh, okay.
Florence Pugh, Matthew Modine, Kenneth Branagh, Casey Affleck, Gary Oldman,
Oh, I
And
didn't know that he was in it.
that's just scratching the surface. I mean, the list goes on and on, but it
Wow.
it is
Wow.
an incredible cast. Probably his biggest cast of A-listers. I mean, it's
Could
just
be.
A-listers across the board, basically.
Yeah. 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 And I gotta say, I think I'm definitely looking forward to this one more than Dunkirk. And not
Mm,
just war films are not the easiest to take in sometimes, and so
yeah,
this one obviously has to do with a period that involved war and the use
right.
of the atom bomb. But
Hmm.
yeah, Dunkirk I did watch and I did
Yeah,
like.
yeah,
It's not my first sort of go-to genre,
sure.
but yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. I mean, it's one of those. I mean, there's certain films that I have to watch just because of the actors that are in it.
Yeah,
Sometimes if it's just one actor,
right, right.
I'll watch. I'm a bit of a completist sometimes. There's certain actors like Jason Bateman is one. I try to watch it like everything he's in, even if it's
Sure.
probably bad, and sometimes
Right,
it's bad.
right.
But anyway, this definitely I'll definitely be looking forward to this one for sure.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, that one's set for release on July 21st, 2023. So about a year away from it, but very much looking forward to it.
I bet there's
Um,
some epic footage that's forthcoming on that one with
oh
a
yeah,
second
yeah,
trailer. Yeah,
yeah. Full trailer, I'm sure, is on the way.
yeah,
I'm thinking we'll get one around Christmas time. And
or Super Bowl. Yeah,
Yeah, it could be Super Bowl as well. So
yeah.
yeah, looking forward to it. The other trailer that dropped just this week is a trailer for a movie called Devotion. Devotion is a new film. It's coming out November 23rd of this year. And it's all about the Korean War, which it says even in the trailer, America's forgotten war. Not a lot of people
Yeah, it's
talk
known
about
as
it.
that. Yeah.
I don't know if there's ever been a Korean War film. There probably has been somewhere, but I don't know of any. So it's interesting to see that era and
Hmm.
that war on display, the kind of 50s era, and so it's got Jonathan Majors, who's kind of a rising star, and then Glenn Powell, who was just seen in Top Gun Maverick. So a couple of up and coming stars, up and coming director as well. He's directed a couple movies on Netflix, neither of which I've seen. But so the trailer looked good. I think it looks really compelling story, good visual effects. Even in the shots in the trailer, I thought were well done. The kind of aerial combat sequences. It's about these fighter pilots. So yeah, that's another one that I thought looked good, and I'm curious about it.
Yeah, I noticed it had a very Top Gun Maverick kind of feel to the
It
trailer,
does,
and they're
yeah,
trying to capitalize on that a little bit.
right,
And again, that genre, this one, there's not really necessarily any actors that I know in it.
sure,
It's one of those that I normally wouldn't be drawn to too much. I would wait until some people have seen it, and
right,
then if people are saying it's terrific, then I would probably watch it.
yeah,
I feel like that there's been a lot of movies like this in the last 5-10 years.
sure.
So yeah, I don't know. It's not one I'm immediately drawn to, but I would wait to see if people are raving about it or not.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm, again, unfamiliar with the director, slightly familiar with some of the actors, but yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to rush out to see this one,
Right,
or I'll
right.
probably wait and again, like you, kind of see what the consensus is. Maybe wait for streaming on it, and then check it out. But it is
Yeah.
one that I'm curious about, I would say.
It does look like it could be good though. I
Right.
mean, it's yeah, from the trailer. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. A couple other pieces of news, just a couple stories dropped this week that I thought were interesting. One is this whole debacle that's going on with the Rocky franchise. I don't know if you've heard about
I
this.
heard nothing about that. Fill me in on
Really?
that.
Yeah. So Stallone, he's an avid user of Instagram. He's a
I
pretty.
follow him. I
Oh, do
follow
you?
him. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
He's pretty
Yeah,
funny.
he is. Yeah, he's great. He
Yeah,
puts out some kind of inspirational videos and
yeah,
just cool stuff. He just seems
yeah.
like a down to earth cool guy.
He does.
Um, but basically, what was announced was that they pushed the third Creed movie back to March,
Oh, okay.
and they did that, and then right on the heels of that, they announced that they're doing a spin-off on Drago, who is Dolph Lundgren's character
Hmm.
from Rocky Four, the Russian. Ivan Drago. So
Mhm.
he's getting his own movie. It's going to be supposedly like a prequel, a backstory to how he got to where he was in Rocky Four, I guess.
Gotcha, gotcha.
I don't know.
Interesting.
I'm guessing they're recasting
Uh-huh.
the character, and maybe Lundgren will play like an older version, looking back on his life or something like that. That would be my guess. But Sly came out and basically started slamming the producers openly on his Instagram.
Oh, I didn't see that.
The Winklers are the producers. They own the rights to the Rocky franchise. He
Oh,
sold the
okay.
rights to them, or didn't sell the rights. He gave them the rights when he wrote the screenplay,
Mm.
basically, in order to make the movie. And they've had the rights ever since. And they really, from Stallone's point of view, have not been very kind to him. I mean, obviously he's gotten paid for all the Rocky movies,
Yeah,
but it's a character he created, and he basically has no say in what kind of movies get made, what kind of spin-offs get made. He basically
yeah,
went on Instagram and called them a lot of very kind of interesting names, parasites, and
wow.
bloodsuckers, and all this terminology he used that was pretty colorful.
Maybe
um
because he didn't want the third Creed film pushed. Is that possibly why?
i I wouldn't think so. He was very involved in the
Oh,
first two Creed films,
yeah,
and I think
yeah.
he's kind of on board with that. I
Okay,
think it's the announcement of this Drago thing again without his involvement. He had nothing to do with this.
gotcha.
They didn't consult him and say, "Hey, we're thinking about making this spin-off
Yeah.
movie, and Dolph Lundgren, we want him involved," and that whole thing. So I think it just kind of got to him to a point, and it's obviously been brewing in him for years. This kind of animosity towards these producers who haven't
Oh,
really
okay,
treated him right.
I see.
So he kind of said that he was too naive and trusting of them back
Hmm.
in '76 when he first wrote Rocky. He kind of
Hmm.
wasn't business savvy in that way,
Hmm.
and kind of just let them run with it when he maybe should have worked out a different kind of deal.
Yeah,
So he's just kind of upset
yeah.
at them, at himself, maybe a little bit too. And he specifically mentioned he wanted to be able to hand the Rocky franchise down to his children and let them have at least a part of it where they would maybe get a cut of the box office or something.
Mm.
As it stands now, he gets no money from any Rocky films that he's not acting in or
Oh,
writing. So this Drago
okay.
film, the new Creed movie, he's not involved with either one of them, and so
Okay.
he doesn't get paid. Even
Yeah,
though again, he's the one who started the franchise, so I very much
sure.
see where he's coming from.
Yeah, kind of waters
Um,
things down.
yeah, yeah,
Drago, you're talking about a character in the fourth movie of a series, so he just kind of was
right,
just spawned for this fourth movie. It's
right.
very interesting that they would then take that character and make him give him his own backstory
Well, he did
and
show
that
up
kind of
in
thing.
Creed 2.
He did.
So
Oh,
in
okay.
Creed 2 is
I
actually
did not watch
about,
Creed 2.
yeah, it's about Drago and his son
Oh, I gotta
kind of
watch that.
coming
Okay.
back. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
You gotta check
okay.
out the Creed movies. They're good.
Well,
Um,
Drago, the other thing too is that from what I gather, a lot of people think that Rocky Four. I mean, some people love it, but some people
right.
think it's terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of in the first camp because I grew up watching. The first
Sure.
Rocky movie I saw was Rocky Four,
Okay.
and to
Right.
this
Right. Right.
day, I think it's pretty good. I mean, it's kind
Yeah.
of silly. It's sort
Yeah.
of
It's an
it's
'80s
got some
music video,
issues.
most of it, but
Yeah, and
yeah.
but I love the soundtrack and that kind of
Sure.
thing. But
Sure.
it's kind of interesting. I think that Drago probably gained more fame just from a cult following, I would guess, of Rocky Four because it's
Sure.
certainly been panned by a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. It has. I agree. Yeah. I
Yeah,
was kind of surprised when I heard they were bringing him back too. But again, his appearance in Creed 2 kind of made me go, okay, that kind of makes sense, actually, that they could continue his story and look
yeah.
back at where he came from.
Creed
It
2
could
must
be
have been
interesting.
pretty successful.
It was. Yeah. Yeah. It was a pretty successful.
Yeah.
Both
So,
Creed movies are.
it's the money.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And
But I gotta say I'd be interested in it. So
sure, I would too, and especially with Lundgren's
yeah.
involvement, it was interesting because Stallone kind of called out Dolph as well because they're buddies now. I mean, they actually didn't really like each other back in the '80s, but now they're the good friends. They're in the Expendables movies together
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
that.
yeah, right.
And so Stallone kind of came after him too, saying, "Hey, dude,
Mm,
nobody let me know about this. Why didn't you
hmm.
just call me?" And Lundgren, to his credit, did say that the producers, from his understanding, he thought that Sly was going to be involved as both an actor and a
Oh,
producer on the movie.
gotcha.
So I don't know if the producers lied to him about that, or if they implied it and it wasn't
Yeah,
fully accurate, or what went on there. But
yeah.
so battle, I guess, is brewing in the
Hmm.
Rocky franchise right now, which is interesting. The struggle between art and business that you have in Hollywood is very, very
Yeah,
interesting. A lot of politics and all kinds of weird things involved there. So I just thought it was an interesting story because, Stallone kind of put it all out there, and a lot of people are talking about it, and seeing how it's all going to pan out will be really interesting.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well,
couple other pieces of news here, all related to Warner Brothers and DC. So a lot has happened with the company recently. They merged with Discovery, and so now we have new leadership over at Warner Brothers Pictures.
yeah. By the
Um,
way, is it Discovery Channel or Discovery Plus? Because I think those are two different things,
it's
and I
both.
couldn't figure it out. It's both.
Yeah, so
Oh,
Discovery
oh.
Channel and Discovery Plus are Discovery Plus is basically the streaming service for Discovery Channel,
I thought
essentially.
they were separate for some reason, but
Yeah, so if you have cable, you'll get Discovery Channel, but you can also subscribe to Discovery Plus, kind of like Disney Plus or
I we
or
we subscribe to
HBO
that. Yeah,
Max.
we
Okay,
have that. But I
gotcha.
didn't realize that it was. Yeah, I thought for some reason they were separate entities,
Yeah,
and
it's
they
all
had
one
different
thing.
programming.
Right. So if you want to cut the cord like most people have been doing, cut the cable out,
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
still
we did that years
subscribe
ago.
to Discovery Plus and get all the stuff you would still get on Discovery Channel. It's just not on a
Okay.
streaming service, basically. So
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Okay, gotcha.
there's a lot of changes happening over at Warner Brothers Discovery Plus, also HBO Max, because Warner Brothers owns that streaming service. So there kind of been a reshuffling of all these things, and we're not sure exactly how it's going to pan out. There have been reports now that HBO Max and Discovery Plus will merge next year, which will be interesting to see.
You're talking
So
about I have both, and I can't imagine them both being under the same hub, or maybe it's just going to be that they'll merge under the same umbrella, but I can't imagine they would join in the same app, because that would not be a good marriage for an app or for a streaming, you know,
I agree. Yeah.
site. Yeah,
Right.
the content
Yeah.
is they're so different, you know.
Right. Right. Exactly. So yeah, I don't know what merge means. If it will be one
Yeah,
app
yeah.
now with a new name, or with maybe you would open the app and you would be able to go
Mm,
to either place. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work.
right.
I'm sure they have teams of people working on it now. Um, but the main thing I wanted to talk about was how this will affect, kind of the DC films moving forward, which I'm a big fan of. So there was this investor call this week with David Zaslav, who's now in charge of Warner Brothers, and he basically said that they've got a 10-year plan that they're working on for DC films moving forward, much like Marvel. He specifically mentioned Kevin Feige and Bob Iger over at Disney doing this with Marvel Studios, planning out several years in advance exactly what they're going to do moving forward. And so I don't know, is copying and pasting Marvel the right idea?
You know,
Um,
I read an article about their 10-year plan,
yeah,
and the article itself was talking about how much of a mess it is,
yeah,
and to do it at this point doesn't make any sense, and there's so many contradictory parts to it and different timelines and people playing the same parts, and it's just going to be I agree with the article. When I read it, I thought they make a good point. This is going to be a mess if this is really what they're trying to do.
yeah, I agree. It's we don't know the details of it. They haven't revealed exactly what the plan is.
Hmm.
We know they've canceled this Batgirl movie, which was just wrapped production. We
Yeah,
know that
that's
they're
weird.
shuffling around release dates, supposedly for Shazam possibly getting bumped and Aquaman
Wow.
getting bumped back, and they're not sure what they're going to do with this Flash movie. If they're going to
Mm-hmm.
cancel that as well,
Mm-hmm.
we don't know what's going on. We haven't heard any official word.
Yeah, but what we do know is that Marvel had these building blocks, and they built and
Yeah,
built and built to the
yeah,
Avengers films, and then
right,
crowned it with like Infinity War and
right,
Endgame. Like, I
yeah,
mean, that's how you do it. You don't
yes,
you don't do it the way DC has done it. I mean, I know enough about it to know that it's just it'd be a mess to try to bring all these things together and what actors are playing what. And
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is that they've already started a shared continuity, starting with Man of Steel. So we already
Mhm.
have the shared continuity in place.
If only they would
Um,
have kept going.
I know. If only Snyder had stayed, they had kept Snyder on, and he was
Mm,
able to fulfill his vision, because
mhm.
his vision was 5 movies. He had a five
Okay,
movie
okay,
story that had a
gotcha.
beginning, middle, and end, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But he also in there included room for spin-offs and all kinds of side
yeah,
things,
yeah,
So, and we saw that with Wonder Woman.
yeah.
She got her own movie
Right,
in the middle of his kind of story. We
right.
got, Aquaman got his own thing. We got
Yeah,
Suicide Squad, all these other things. So there was plenty of room for it to grow beyond those 5 movies he had planned.
yeah.
But, you know,
But they're
after
not
everything,
they're not they're not building the Batman or Joker or those kind of movies
well, that's
to merge
right,
together.
exactly. So, yeah, Joker, I'm glad you brought that up because we have a sequel to Joker coming up, right? But it's not connected to
Right.
anything. It's its
Yeah, it's
own
just
little.
confusing. Yeah,
Yeah, sure, sure. And like you mentioned, the Batman, that's its own universe, which is going to be
yeah,
its own trilogy with spin-off series and all kinds of
yeah.
other things
And
too.
that's not what Marvel does.
That's not what Marvel does at all. No, that they very much are all connected. The series,
Hmm.
the show, the movies, all of it is all interconnected. And that's the thing is, if Snyder had stayed on and they were able to complete his vision, I think it would have been great. And then they could have, like I said, done all these different spinoffs and things like that. Where it stands now, I don't know if I don't know how you. I think
Get
there's
your
a
arms around
way.
it and
Yeah,
bring it together. Yeah, I
right.
don't
I
know
think
either.
there's a way to keep it because they haven't really broken continuity yet. Everything that they've done up until this point still works together, unless you're talking about Joker and the Batman. Those are definitely their own things, which is fine. I think. I don't think people are confused that Robert Pattinson and Ben Affleck are both Batman, but it's a different universe. I think people understand that for the most
How do
part.
you do the next? How do you do the next movie where they all get together? Yeah, without Ben Affleck, without Robert Pattinson, or maybe you bring him in, but then everything has to kind of gel with what has taken place in his first two movies. And
Yeah,
will it? I don't know.
I think that's what's getting
And
even
Wonder
more
Woman.
what's getting more confusing is that Jason Momoa took to his Instagram to announce that Ben Affleck is appearing in Aquaman 2.
What?
Yeah. So Ben Affleck's back all of a
I
sudden
guess I'll be watching Aquaman too.
yeah, I know. After retiring, he's hung up the cowl. He went on Jimmy Kimmel and did this whole thing. Yeah, I'm not Batman anymore. It's time for, a new guy to take over. And then just last week, he's back. Ben Affleck is back in Aquaman 2. So I don't know if that's part of this new plan to, hey, Ben Affleck's back. This is a shared universe. It ties in with, but then again, what do you do with Justice League? Is it Zack Snyder's version? Is it Joss Whedon's version?
Yeah,
Which
and Zack
universe are
Snyder's
we in?
version, you had Joker coming back
Yeah,
as
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto.
Right.
Yeah, and yeah, I so at this point, I don't know why they don't just beg Zack Snyder to say, please fix this and help us, because that was
Yeah,
his 3 films was the best shot they had at resembling anything having to do with what Marvel's doing, don't you think?
absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's
100%.
over, and that's over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Again, unless they beg him to come back and he agrees,
yeah,
it's
and I don't
over.
doesn't look like they're gonna. So
Doesn't look like it. So
yeah,
yeah, it's in shambles. I mean, right now, DC they're just in shambles. I don't know what the future holds. Again, hopefully this plan they have is cool and it works, but right now it's just a mess.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll just have to wait and see what ends up coming of all this. All right. So now we're jumping into some movie reviews. This was a big weekend for movies. 3 new big movies were released, 2 of them on streaming. So Bert and I both got to check out the new film Prey, streaming now on Hulu. This movie is a prequel to the Predator franchise. So the Predator franchise kicked off back in 1987. with the first film, Predator, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Big action movie with some cool sci-fi elements to it. It's basically a really simple premise. An alien comes to Earth and starts hunting people. This movie takes place 300 years ago. And this movie is directed by a guy named Dan Trachtenberg, who directed a movie I really like, 10 Cloverfield Lane, which was the sequel spinoff to Cloverfield. And I really enjoyed that movie. So I was really looking forward to this. And I put it on, and this movie is really unique because it features an unknown cast of
Yeah.
actors of Native Americans. It takes place, in North America in the early 1700s, like I said. So we have a cast of just unknown actors. We have this very kind of, again, I like what I liked about this movie is it went back to the roots of the franchise. I felt like, and just told a very simple story in a kind of secluded setting, and I really enjoyed it. Amber Mid Thunder is our star of
Mhm.
the film here, and she does a phenomenal job, I think, playing this character, who we go along with as she's hunted by this alien entity. And they just delivered on the action. They delivered on the thrills. It's brutally violent, much like the other Predator films. I just like that it had a different feel to it. It didn't feel like, the other Predator movies. It felt like its own thing. It felt like they found a kind of fresh way into this franchise that's been going on now for, 30, 40 years. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was kind of blown away because I got the chance to watch a couple of the Predator movies leading up to this. And I just, again, felt that they found such a unique way into it. It's great visual storytelling here. There's not a ton of dialogue. They actually released a Comanche cut, the Comanche dub, which is actually the version I
Oh.
watched. I decided to watch it all in the Comanche language. So it's subtitled,
Oh,
throughout the
okay.
film.
You didn't learn
Um,
Comanche for it?
right. Yeah. No, I didn't
Not
learn
much
a new
time.
language for it,
Yeah.
but it was really, it gave it again another layer of kind of just a different quality
Hmm.
that I really enjoyed. And so I thought the visual storytelling was top notch. The cinematography, the effects I thought were quite good as well. Good editing. I thought it was a pretty tight movie. It's only 100 minutes, and
Hmm.
goes by pretty quickly. Yeah, all in all, I really dug it. I thought this was, just a suspenseful kind of thrilling action film that I thoroughly enjoyed. So, what are your thoughts on Prey?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of things you said. For me, I felt like this movie was a lot like the first movie in a lot of ways,
Sure.
but that's also to say that I thought it was just okay.
Okay.
And there was a lot of good stuff here. I mean, I think it's great that they had a Native American cast and didn't have
Yeah.
any big names. You know, a lot of
Right.
times we get sort of that, oh, it's a Native American cast or whatever ethnicity, but you've got like this big star who's clearly not,
Sure.
of that
Right.
ethnicity.
Exactly.
And thank goodness they didn't feel like they had to do that. So that was good.
Yes.
The scenery
Yes.
in the movie is really beautiful. I think it was filmed in Alberta, Canada. I tried to
Oh
find that
wow.
out, but
Okay.
it looked kind of like Montana,
Yeah.
but I think it was Canada.
Okay.
I think one of the things that works best for a Predator film, as an action film at least, is how cool the Predator is. Like he's got these
Yeah.
gadgets and all this stuff that we're
Sure.
not familiar with, and
Right.
and he did have a few gadgets, and so
Yeah.
for the most part, he was generally pretty good.
Yeah.
And the Predator even looks a little bit different in this film. He's
Right.
got sort of that face mask, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I kind of felt like the film did not excite very much.
Hmm.
And then there were times where I feel like the screenwriters sort of let the main heroine off the hook by sort of letting her live in situations where it seemed like they're just letting her live because she's got to make it to the end of the movie. It just felt like a
Right.
little bit too set up like that.
Okay.
And then like she says herself, Naru, I think her name
Yeah.
is. She says that she was spared by the Predator because he didn't see her as a threat, and yet the Predator mercilessly kills these other people that aren't threats, like the Frenchman that's laying there and can't even really move, and the predator just comes up and takes him out.
Right.
So that didn't really
Right.
make a lot of sense. I
Okay.
mean, it wasn't a huge deal though. I mean, I didn't have a
Sure.
major problem with it.
Sure.
But she kind of acts like, oh, I'm untouchable, and then so she lures the predator to this guy, and then she could have just killed him herself at that point. And then I'm
Right.
thinking, oh, well, this is going to be some really crazy kill that he does, but it was just pretty much he just like takes him out with a
Right.
kind of device. So I don't know.
Sure.
I didn't really see the point there, but and then there's a scene where she has to take on five. I think these guys are French, right? I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
pick up on their accent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They are.
she takes on like five of them at once, and that was pretty cool. But it was like they borrowed the editor from The Bourne Identity, and I couldn't tell what was
Mm.
going on half the
Sure.
time. And so
Okay.
that was sort of her big moment, and they used a lot of editing for that. So
Okay.
where it came down to me, and I'll just give my ranking on this if
Sure.
you want.
Yeah.
Um, there's some good, but some that wasn't so great. And ultimately, it wasn't that thrilling for me. I don't know why. I
Okay.
just thought it was but I also thought about the first Predator too. Like,
Okay. Sure.
I like Arnold and some of the actors in it, but the
Yeah.
movie itself, it was a lot like this. Like, it was good. It was nice to
Uh-huh.
look at, but it was okay. Just not
Okay.
not the thing I really love about. I don't know. Is this a horror movie? I don't know.
Right.
I
Yeah. It
guess
kind of has
it
horror
could.
elements. Yeah. A little
Yeah.
bit.
So I'm at a 2.5. I don't think
Oh,
I'd
okay.
recommend it. I'm sort of right on the fence at two and a
Okay.
half. Yeah. Mhm.
Gotcha. Yeah. I ended up at 4. I had a
Wow.
blast. Yeah.
Wow.
I had a great time watching it. I think it's easily the best Predator film,
It could
by
be. It
by
could be.
far, for me.
Yeah.
I really think it's really well done. I can't wait to watch it again. Actually, I really want to see it again. I'll watch the English version this time and see how I enjoy that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I enjoy it. I think this is really the template for how to bring back a franchise.
Yeah.
Again, returning to its roots. Like, I felt some of the Predator sequels, they tried to get a little too big with it, a little too much going on.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I just feel the exact same way about Terminator, which is interesting because all these, Alien, Predator, Terminator, they're all these they started as these kind of sci-fi horror films that morphed into like these big action franchises.
Yeah. Right.
It's
Yeah.
kind of interesting how that happened. And I feel like this is where Alien and Terminator need to go. Just like
Yeah.
a very self-contained, intimate story with a few characters, return to more of the horror elements. So yeah, I thought this was excellent. Highly recommend it. Again, easily my favorite of the entire series. And I've seen all of
Okay.
them a number of times.
Okay. Fair
So
enough.
I'll go through my ranking real quick of the
Okay.
franchise. At the very bottom, I have The Predator. Did you see The Predator
I did not see
2018?
that one. No.
You're not missing out. It is it is rough. I mean, it is
Okay.
not a
Gotcha.
good film. And
Gotcha.
it's surprising because Shane Black directed it and wrote it, who was in the first Predator. He played
Oh,
Hawkins, one of
okay.
the guys that gets killed off pretty early.
Okay.
But John McTiernan, the director of the original
Oh.
Predator, hired him because he was a writer too.
Okay.
And so he had a writer on set writing these one-liners and all the stuff for Arnold and the whole
Yeah.
cast.
Yeah.
So
Right.
he's kind of a co-writer on the first one. He
Hmm.
ended up directing Iron Man 3, The Nice Guys, Kiss Kiss
Oh
Bang
yeah.
Bang, some
Uh-huh.
movies
That
that
was
I
good.
really like.
Hmm.
So I was really disappointed when I watched it, and I don't know, he just had a bad day at the office that day, I
Gotcha.
guess, or something.
Hmm.
It's not funny. It's not good action in it even, or
Yeah.
effects. Again, just a lot going on. Just not good.
Hmm.
I gave it 1 star, which is pretty rare for me. I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
don't like that movie.
I guess so.
So that's the bottom. That's my number 7. At number 6, I included these because Predators featured heavily in them, the Alien versus Predator movies.
Mhm.
So I have Alien versus Predator 1, which came out in 2004, I believe. I only gave that one 2 stars. I just think it's kind of a gimmick, let's have these two creatures that we own. Fox happened to own these two franchises, so they're like, let's combine them and have them battle. And
I think fans kind of wanted that at the time, if I remember right.
I'm sure they did. This is
Yeah.
evidence that you should not always give fans what they want, because it did
Well,
not
that's
turn
for
out well.
sure. That's
Did
for sure.
not
And
turn
I
out
and
well.
I did see that one, but only
Okay.
once, and I liked it, but I don't
Yeah.
remember much about it. I'd have to rewatch it.
Yeah. I don't enjoy it. It
Okay.
was it was just very generic.
Hmm.
The battle between the alien and the predator wasn't great. It was just like a
Mm,
badly choreographed little tussle
really?
they have.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and the human characters are all really dumb.
Uh,
The one I liked a little bit more was Aliens versus Predator Requiem, which is the sequel.
I didn't see that
Um,
one.
because that one leaned heavily into, let's just make this a silly like slasher movie, basically.
Oh, really?
So you have your typical, it's like your typical horror film where you have like, all these people in this small town. One of them's a jock, one of them's a nerd. There's the
Mm,
pretty girl, there's the cop. It's like all these just very bland characters that they just send out for the predator to just
uh,
annihilate, basically. And the aliens are involved in kind of a cooler way, I thought.
hmm. Okay.
So that one I enjoyed a little bit better. That one's watchable, I would say.
Hmm.
Still only maybe like 2.5 stars though on that one.
Hmm.
Getting into the better ones, my number four is Predator 2,
Hmm.
1990. Danny
I saw that in the
Glover.
theater. Yeah, I
Did you
saw that in the
really?
theater. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
remember it?
I do. Yeah, I liked
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I might have even have seen it twice. And don't forget, this is 1990.
Sure.
There's been a lot of better films that have come along since, but I was
Sure.
pretty young. But at that
Yeah.
time, yeah, I liked it quite a bit. Yeah.
I rewatched it this week, and I got to say, I
Really?
enjoyed it more than the first time I watched it.
Oh,
Actually, I
okay.
think I
Good.
think it actually holds up fairly well
Hmm.
as a really good. It's on the city this time instead of the
Yeah.
jungle,
Yeah.
which I thought was a great change of scenery. And Danny
Sure.
Glover is just awesome in this movie. I mean, he is really cool. He's like, I mean, he's like Arnold level, like cool action hero Danny Glover. This is like peak Danny Glover for me.
Yeah.
I've never
Yeah.
really seen him like this. Beyond what he is in Lethal Weapon. Lethal Weapon, he's more of an everyman
Hmm.
action hero, but here he's like
Yeah.
just a really cool character and does a great job. You got Bill Paxton in there, who's always fun. He's the only one of the only actors to be killed by a Predator, Alien, and Terminator. So he's in this,
Brilliant.
and
Yeah.
he's having fun.
Hmm.
Yeah, I really liked it. I liked the whole, again, the different setting and everything. Gary Busey's in it too, which is fun.
Oh, sure.
I
Yeah.
found it maybe even more scary than the original. Maybe because it is in a
Hmm.
city, it feels a little more close to home.
Hmm.
So yeah, I enjoyed that one. I thought it was really well done. So I'd give that one maybe 3.5
Okay.
stars. My number three, I like a little bit better than Predator 2 is Predators, which
Oh,
Robert Rodriguez produced,
when did that one come
um,
out?
2010.
Yeah, I don't
And
think I saw that one.
yeah, this one's interesting because it's all on a different planet. So these humans are
Oh.
transported to what I'm guessing is the Predator's planet, or this planet they go to hunt.
Hmm.
So all these humans are picked up from Earth, dropped on this planet for, I guess, the Predators to kind of practice hunt, essentially. So there's a lot more Predators in it. And there's this, big ensemble cast, much like the first Predator movie. You've got Adrian Brody, last
Hmm.
person you would expect in an action movie, but he's really good
Oh,
as
yeah.
this action hero. I
Huh.
totally bought him. And he was coming right off an
Hmm.
Oscar win for, I think, The Pianist, after this, which is a really interesting choice. I like when actors do that. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I just won an Oscar. I'm going to do this little action movie now. You have Lawrence Fishburne in there, who's a lot of fun. He's kind of a guy that's been on this planet for a long time. He's gone a little crazy. He delivers a really cool performance. And an actress named Alice Braga, who's in I Am Legend. She's in Elysium. She's really the heart of the movie. And so I really like this one. A good mix of other characters. You got Danny Trejo in there. Topher Grace shows up in this one.
Oh, I
Walton
like him. Yeah.
Goggins. Yeah. Mahershala Ali. So a lot of good actors, a good ensemble cast,
Hmm.
that all, have different backgrounds, and they're all kind of trying to work together, but they don't really trust each other to survive on this planet. It's just, well done sci-fi action movie. So that one
Okay.
again, 3.5 stars, I think, is where I'm at there. Number
Okay.
two, Predator, the original. I'm a huge fan of. I think it's
Are you?
tons of fun. John McTiernan, who the year after that did Die Hard. Great
Right.
action director. I really like him a lot. He's really, really good at shooting action, and they build suspense well in that film and the whole thing. The only edit I would make to that movie, and it would probably bump it up to maybe 4.5 stars, is if they took out that opening shot which is the
Oh,
Predator ship arriving on Earth.
oh, is it bad?
Um, it's not a bad shot, actually. It
Oh,
looks fine. It's just it telegraphs what's gonna happen because
uh,
the next scene is Arnold showing up in the chopper and getting off and meeting Carl Weathers, and they're talking about, hey, we got to go on this mission or whatever. And the whole time you're kind of waiting for this alien to show up. You've already seen it, but if they hadn't revealed that early in the movie, and you get to discover the Predator with the characters, I think it would be so much more effective.
yeah, yeah.
So that's the one major change I would make that I think this would make this movie a lot better. But again, you got a great mix of characters. One thing that's not mentioned a lot about this movie is the score by Alan Silvestri.
Oh,
It
really?
is superb. I
Hmm.
mean, it is a great theme. And again, the way he builds suspense and the action in it, it's all really well done on the musical side.
It's not just his
Um,
leftover Back to the Future music.
no, it's very different. It's very different. Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I like that one. I like the whole finale of Arnold having to outsmart the Predator. I think that's really well
Hmm.
done too.
Yeah,
All the guns in the world can't stand up to this thing. It has to be your intellect that ends up defeating it. So I like it. I like
yeah.
Predator one a lot. And then number one is Prey. Like I mentioned,
Okay.
I think it's my favorite one. I think it's on a character level, visual storytelling, just doing something different with the franchise and making it fresh again. I think it
Yeah.
worked on every level for me. And like I said, I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah, and I don't have a ranking. I commented
Yeah,
on the ones I've seen, but
sure.
I will say this about Prey: like it wasn't bad. If I had to watch it again,
Sure.
that's fine. It's decent.
Sure.
So
Sure.
that's I don't know if I'd recommend it, but it's just not. I guess maybe it's just not my favorite kind of action horror film.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I see
Yeah.
that. One thing I will mention, I wanted to mention about Prey that I forgot to mention was the Predator. I like how, again, this is 300 years ago from when we meet
Hmm.
him in Predator 1, and his tech is a lot more grounded. It's not as, like, he doesn't have his laser cannon. He doesn't have some of the things that he has in the later movies.
Hmm.
The laser cannon, he's still got the laser,
Sight.
sight, but
Yeah.
it's darts that he shoots out. It's
Yeah, that's
not,
true. That's true.
I thought that was smart, and I like the shield. It just felt like an ancient predator. Like, they're
Yeah.
kind of, they
Yeah.
haven't gotten to the point where they are in the later movies yet,
Right.
which I thought was smart. I think they probably would have been tempted to, let's just keep the predator the same. People know that,
Hmm.
but instead they said, no, it's supposed to be older, so let's change up what he can do and what he has.
Yeah. Although it does in Predator 2, and it's been a long time, but isn't there
Yeah.
some kind of at the end we find out that they're time travelers? Or am I way off on that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
We do go into their spaceship, and they've got all
Okay.
these trophies of all these alien creatures they've defeated. But no,
Okay.
there's nothing that indicates. I mean, there is, they hand Danny Glover an old pistol, like from this era, from like the 1700s. But I think that's just implying that they've been around for a long time, not that they
Okay.
traveled back.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
But yeah, that is a good point about the weaponry was a
yeah.
little more broken down for like what that period would be. So that was a good touch too. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I like that. All right. So the next movie we're going to jump into is 13 Lives. So this was released on Amazon Prime this weekend. It's a film directed by Ron Howard, director I'm a big fan of. And it's the true story about the Thai soccer team that was trapped in a cave for many days. It's really an incredible true story. Just happened back in 2018. So this was a story I wasn't super familiar with. I remembered this
Neither was
happening.
I. Yeah. I
I
barely
didn't.
remember it.
Yeah, I didn't remember any details. So this film was riveting. I mean, it was just gripping for me from the very beginning. I was just so drawn into the story. It's, like I said, it's just incredible what these kids survived
Hmm.
and what people went through to rescue them. It's really inspiring for me. I was blown away when I discovered what all went into this. I had no idea. Ron Howard, I think he's just an expert filmmaker. He's been doing it for a long time. he's been in the business his whole life,
Right.
which is really crazy to think about. Back when he was playing Opie on Andy Griffith's show, and where he is today, it's a pretty incredible career. But of course, his past as an actor gives him so much insight into directing performances, and I think that's his greatest
Yeah.
strength. I think it always has
Sure.
been is directing actors, getting performances out of actors that are believable. And everyone in this movie does that. They deliver very believable, real performances. It's a very realistic, grounded movie, which makes sense since it's really happened. But Viggo Mortensen is great here. I haven't seen him in anything in a while,
Me neither. Yeah.
and he's great. Of course, Colin Farrell is probably one of my favorite actors. He's great in everything. I think he just disappears into whatever role he's playing. You get Joel Edgerton as well as another guy I really like. So those are kind of the big A-list stars, and then you have many other actors in it as well. So they all do a great job. It's a claustrophobic film. I mean, you're down in these
Yeah.
caves, underwater. I mean, it's just very tense, very kind of hard to watch at times, even. Really,
Hmm.
really, they put you in the shoes of these divers, which is really impressive. And so, amazingly well shot. I haven't looked into any behind the scenes of how they got these shots. I don't know if they were on sets. I'm guessing they had to be on sets for a lot of this,
Yeah.
but I'm
You would
not
think.
sure. But yeah, just very, very well done cinematography. Also, the editing is good. I did not feel like this was a 2.5 hour movie. When I saw the runtime, I was kind of dreading watching it because it was last night. It was kind of late. I was already a little tired and kind of wasn't sure if I would make it through without falling
Hmm.
asleep. But
Hmm.
like I said, it was gripping. It had me on the edge of my seat the entire time. It felt like it flew by. And so I had a great time watching it. My wife enjoyed it as well. We both watched it together, and not knowing a whole lot about what actually occurred really helped. So it's just really, really well done. I was amazed by, the film has very different perspectives. So we have the divers, we have the farmers and the civilians who are helping
Hmm.
with this, the rains that are coming in. They have to divert the water away from
Yeah,
these
that was
caves.
incredible. Yeah.
I was amazed by that. And then, of course, you have the parents who are waiting on the sidelines. You have the government and the military aspect of it as well. And it
Hmm.
balanced all these very well. I didn't feel like any of them were shortchanged. I felt like all of them, we got to spend time with each one, and they were all very effectively done. Good music here. I thought that the music was effective as well. Drawing me into the story and what was happening on screen. So all in all, I had a great time watching this. I thought it was again, just kind of an intense, very engaging experience that I thoroughly enjoyed. What were your thoughts on 13 Lives?
I think if you know nothing about what happened to these people, it's probably the best way to watch this film
Yeah,
because if you know who makes it in and who makes it out, then
sure.
you're just kind of waiting for that to happen. So thank goodness I
Right.
knew nothing about. I barely remember the news story,
Yeah.
and I see why why Ron Howard visited this because
Yeah.
there's a lot of these kind of things where when you actually dig into it, sometimes there's some extraordinary things that happened,
Right.
and you definitely see that here.
Yeah.
It's funny because the movie starts a little slow. I hadn't looked at the runtime, but I hit the
Mm.
pause button. I mean, I wasn't disliking it, but
Yeah.
I hit the pause button about 20 minutes in, and it's
Mm.
at 2.5 hours, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh
Oh
man,
no.
really 2.5 hours of this?
Right.
I mean, maybe it's obviously I continued to watch.
Right.
It's funny the boys they play soccer, I
Yeah.
guess in the afternoon, and then
Right.
they bike to this cave, and then they we find out how deep they go into the cave. I think it's something like 2.5 miles. These boys
Right.
are doing like triathlons in the
Right.
course of a day here.
Yeah.
And then something I thought was a little odd was that they never really tell us why the boys decided to journey. Like they know there's a birthday party coming up. They're like, oh, we got to go to the cave. Let's go 2.5 miles down into this
Right.
cave. It's like, do you realize we actually want to get back for this
Right.
party? Like they
Right.
don't ever really say why they picked this day to do this, but we know it's a true story. So it's not
Right.
like I can say I didn't really understand the screenwriter, because it really happened. So
Right.
even though
Maybe
they
they
don't
did
give
that
us a
every
why,
day. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe.
know. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I found myself going, I wish they would have at least told us why they had to like run and go into 2.5 miles
Right.
into that cave. So
Right.
that's a 5 mile round trip. Anyway, very active kids. Um,
Yep.
so there's a certain point in this movie where you realize what it's going to take to get them out, and that really cranked up the intensity
Yeah.
because I was going, oh yeah, they're trapped in the cave, they're going to go get them and get them out. But then when you realize what it's going to take, you're like,
Right.
oh. And this is one of those that metaphorically just more and more sort of gripped my seat
Yeah.
the further it went on
Yeah.
because it got really, really intense.
Yes. I know.
So the mission accomplished there.
Right.
Yeah, it was very intense.
Yeah.
I do knock it down a little bit because in these kinds of movies, I just think it's absolutely critical to make sure that the audience is on the same page with where people are, like the sort of the geographically, like they're going through this part because they're trying to get here, and this is this character, and you know who they are. And I just there were more than once I found myself going, wait, what's going on? And then
Okay.
there were times, of course, where Ron Howard overlays with a map, and
Yeah.
that
That helped a
sometimes I'm
lot.
like, oh, that's where they are. But then I'm like, well, I don't like he would show an overlay of a map, and they're like, oh, they're in this stretch, and I'm like, okay, but then nothing would happen, and I'm like, well, why did you tell me they were in that stretch if nothing was about that? It was just really kind
Okay.
of strange placement, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure the film ever succeeded in making sure that I was clear as the audience of where everyone was, so that it maximized the intensity.
Gotcha.
Don't get
Gotcha.
me wrong, it was intense, but there were times where I wish there was a little more clarity, and I'm
Okay.
sure that's hard to do. And you don't want to
Yeah.
just like have a constant like map, like you're on Google Maps and you're following
Right.
them as they go or something.
Yeah.
It's not
Sure.
even so much the map; it's just there's times where I'm like, wait, who is that person? And then I'm
Mm.
like, oh, okay, and it wasn't a lot of that, but there was a little of it, so I was a little
Okay.
surprised
Sure.
about that.
Sure.
It doesn't knock it down a whole lot. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, this was a really good, intense movie.
Yeah.
You mentioned the music. I found it strange that he didn't use music a lot. Like, there's
Yeah.
definitely times where there's music,
Right.
and it reminded me a little bit of Castaway, where
Yeah.
there were whole chunks where there was no music at all.
Right.
And I mean, I don't want to criticize it for having no music. I felt like there
Right.
were times where it would have helped the audience understand when
Mm.
there was imminent danger if they would have added
Right.
music. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I kind of liked that there wasn't. So I'm a little torn on both sides of that.
Yeah, it
Um,
leans towards realism, this movie. It
yeah,
really
yeah.
leans into the whole idea of putting you in their shoes. Because I think one thing I didn't mention was
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
sound design under
Hmm.
the water, above the water, in the cave, outside the cave. I thought that was an element that was really strong. But you're
Yeah.
right, they don't use a lot of music. And I think it's for that reason, because they wanted it to be a real kind of
Hmm.
experience for the audience to go through with these characters, these real
That's
people.
right. Just like they did in Castaway, I think,
Exactly.
and I think they succeeded. The music that was there was good,
Sure.
and you just definitely heard it when it came in because it's like, oh, now they're playing
Right.
some music
Yeah.
at certain times, but it was
Yeah.
good, And
Mhm.
then the very last thing, this doesn't give away anything really, but I mean, I guess we are giving some spoilers here, but
I mean, it's
the
a true story. You can look up the
yeah,
news article.
right,
So,
right. The very last thing you see is the text of what happened and
yeah.
stuff, and it says 5,000 people from 17 countries contributed to this.
Wow.
It's just one of those things that in this world these days, people don't
Yeah.
get along.
Right.
Countries fight, and it's
Yeah.
just nice to see something that's such a like literally a global humanitarian success.
Yes.
It
Yes.
was very well shot and made. I can't imagine how
Yeah.
difficult it was to pull off this stuff.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty gripping film.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and that is, I think, what made it so kind of emotional. Not just the fact that these are, little kids trapped in a cave and their parents are waiting by the sidelines, but that it is this kind of hopeful look at humanity.
Hmm.
Coming together, people from, like you said, all over the world who, these kids are complete strangers to them. They don't know who these kids are, where they come from.
Hmm.
So it just displays the power of the human spirit and
Yeah.
the value of human life.
Hmm.
It's really really incredible. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that. I give it a full 4 stars, maybe even 4.5. I kind of want to watch it again,
Yeah.
but I'm at least at 4 stars here.
I want to watch it again, but
Yeah.
this is one of those movies that I really, really feel that I would enjoy so much more if I watched it with a commentary. And
Oh yeah.
I don't say that often. Like I
Yeah.
would like to see it again.
Yeah.
I'm a little less. I'm more like 3.5, 4
Okay.
on
Okay.
this. But I feel like it would be a fascinating commentary,
Yeah.
especially like in Apollo 13, they had Marilyn and Jim Lovell do one of the commentaries,
Right.
and if you
Yeah.
had like a couple of the divers
Wow.
actually walk
Yeah.
you through
Yeah.
like this is what this really happened, or we had to
Right.
for the film we modify this a little bit. Like those kind of
Sure.
things are really fascinating, and I think that
Yes.
hopefully we'll get a commentary someday from
Yeah.
this film.
I agree. Yeah, that would be really fun to see. I want to see all the
Yeah.
behind the scenes footage because, yeah, just how they crafted some of those sequences had to be very
Yeah.
difficult.
I'm sure we'd appreciate it even more. And
Yeah.
then one more quick thing on this one. After the movie was over, I got to thinking about this is I think this is one of his Ron Howard's better films.
Yeah.
And I got to be thinking about the word 13, and I'm like, wait, we've already done Apollo 13.
Oh,
This is kind of like Apollo 13, but they're underwater, right?
right. Yeah.
Because they have this well, not really a mission, but they have a mission they have to accomplish to bring the boys back, and then
Sure.
just things start going wrong, and that
Yeah.
kind of thing, kind of like
Yeah.
when they're in the Apollo 13 shuttle or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it
That's
made me
fun.
think
That's
about
a
that. And then I thought a potential tagline for this could be "Bang Chong, we have a problem." But it just doesn't have quite the same ring. And who would
yes.
they say it to? I don't know.
Right.
It doesn't even
Exactly.
make any sense. But that I don't know. Ban Chong is where they're at, I guess. That's the
Right.
province or something. I don't know.
Yes.
Silly, but yeah, there
That's
was some
great.
parallel to Apollo a little bit
There
in this.
absolutely is. Now that you bring that up, I didn't even really think about that, but you're totally right. They even have similar titles. That's
Two
funny.
of his best films have similar titles. Yeah.
Yes, yes, absolutely. That's great. All right, let's quickly go through a top three Ron Howard film ranking. We did our kind of top three, and a couple of these are interchangeable for me. They're really close, but what I ended up with my top three is at number three, I have A Beautiful Mind, which is a movie I had not seen until this week.
Are you
Um,
serious?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It was on Hulu, so I checked it out and was riveted by this one as well. Another true story. He tends to like these. I didn't realize how many of these movies of his are based on real events, which
He
is
specializes in that. Yeah.
yeah, he kind of does. So yeah, Beautiful Mind about John Nash, this brilliant mathematician who lived back in the most of the film takes place in the kind of 40s 50s era, but it takes us through his entire life, which is really
Hmm.
fascinating. And this is one of Russell Crowe's best performances, I think. I really uh, don't remember ever seeing him like this anywhere else. It's a very unique performance for him. From what I've seen from him, he does a great job playing this very much an outsider. The early scenes in the film have him kind of in college
Like a
and
loner.
people kind of
Hmm.
shun him. Yeah. And doesn't really like people. Interacting with people isn't his forte. So,
Right.
but, you meet Paul Bettany's character and it's really interesting. And of course, as we learn throughout this movie, there are all these characters that we've met, Paul Bettany, Ed Harris, that don't actually exist. They're only in his
Yeah.
mind,
Right.
which is just one of those great twists that happens that
Hmm.
you don't see coming, and it has a great effect on the rest of the movie. And
Hmm.
all great performances, though, all really well done. Another standout is Jennifer Connelly,
Yeah.
probably one of her best performances as well. I think she's great in this. It's just a unique biopic
Hmm.
for that reason of a lot of it taking place in his head, and how they conveyed that. And I thought it was really well done. This is shot by Roger Deakins, the great Roger Deakins, who did Skyfall, True Grit. He did the new Blade
Oh.
Runner. He's an Academy Award winning cinematographer who
Hmm.
everyone kind of begs to work with because
Okay.
he's so good
Interesting.
at setting up shots, lighting. He just has a
Yeah.
very specific and unique visual style, each of his
Hmm.
movies. And it's very well shot, well edited. I thought it all came together really well. Just another one of those kind of inspirational stories that I thought was really effective, again, because I didn't know who he was or anything about the guy
Mhm.
before watching it, and found it very effective. Won Best Picture, Best Director,
Yeah.
Best Adapted Screenplay, Supporting Actress. It was nominated for Best Actor, Best Makeup, Best Editing, and Best Score. So it kind of swept the Oscars when it came out in 2001. So that was one I really enjoyed that I hadn't seen before. What do you have at your number three?
At my number three, I have Ed TV. Have you ever seen
Oh,
that?
yeah, I like that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just a really fun comedy that's just shot very well, and it's a smart comedy.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, great actors in it.
Mhm.
And by the way, I went back and watched our podcast about Interstellar, and we say Matthew's name differently. I say McConaughey, and you say McConaughey. It's probably like
Oh,
we're from different parts of the union.
that's true. We are.
So so
That
I noticed
shows
that,
that.
but then
Yeah.
I thought maybe I'm saying it wrong. But
I don't
anyway,
know how
whatever
he
it
says it.
is,
He's
yeah.
Southern, so I'm probably right, but just go ahead and say
you're
he
you're
because
probably right that he's probably right about whatever he wants to call himself. Yeah. So anyway, it's just a tremendously well written
yeah,
comedy, and Woody Harrelson. It's one of his best roles, even though
yeah,
it's a
he's
small
great.
role. Yeah. So it's a film that's probably at least, I haven't ranked it, but it's probably at least a 4 out of 5 for me. So that's my number three.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one too. It reminds me a little bit of Truman Show.
Yes, yeah,
It's
sort of
kind
the
of
the
got that
funnier
vibe.
version of those two films. Yeah,
Right. Sure,
yeah.
sure,
Although I
sure.
really like Truman Show, I should
Yeah,
say.
I
Yeah.
prefer Truman Show if I had to pick between one of the two, but I think they're both good movies.
Truman's a better film, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my number two Ron Howard movie is another one I saw for the first time this week. It had been one I'd been wanting to see, and I found it on Netflix. It's called Rush.
Oh, I think I
This,
watched this one.
yeah, it's from 2013. Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Bruhl star as real life Formula One race car drivers. They just do a phenomenal job in their roles of James Hunt and Niki Lauda, who had this kind of rivalry back in the 70s in the Formula One circuit over in Europe. And this movie was one that I was just, again, so engaged by. It's probably the most actiony of any Ron Howard movie that I've seen. It has, just these thrilling race car sequences.
Hmm.
It's really well shot. The editing on it is phenomenal as well. It's written by a guy named Peter Morgan, who did a couple other movies I like, Last King of Scotland and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I think he's a really talented writer, and shot by a guy named Anthony Dodd, who did Slumdog Millionaire, which is another movie I like, and the new Dread movie with Carl Urban.
I
So
like
it's well
that.
shot. Yeah, yeah. So it's also composed by Hans Zimmer, the great Hans Zimmer, another one of his great scores. But it's just an amazing achievement cinematically. Again, I was so engaged by it. It got me invested in these characters and kind of the emotions they're going through. They're very different personalities, and you get to see how they approach racing from a different perspectives, and the way they live their lives and everything. It was just one of those inspiring kind of sports films, I guess, and just really, really unique to me in Howard's filmography, and in that, yeah, it's a true story, but it's got this kind of edge to it. It's got this kind of more fast-paced style, and a different kind of visual style than what I'm used to with him. So I thought it was him kind of branching out in a way that I hadn't seen, and I really enjoyed it. So that's my number two.
Yeah, and I
Um,
don't remember much. I saw it when it first came out. I think I
okay,
saw it on video. But
yeah,
I remember liking it.
yeah,
But yeah, I probably should rewatch.
yeah. I would
Yeah.
recommend a rewatch because it was again just different,
Hmm.
and I thought
Hmm.
really, really well done.
Okay.
So what's your number two?
My number two actually is Apollo 13, and
Oh,
I've
yeah,
talked in depth about it,
sure,
obviously, with our patriotic podcast, which
yeah,
everyone should definitely check out.
yep,
And so I won't get into detail, but just one of the best dramas out there. I mean, it's right up there with anything else you could watch as far as star power and
sure,
intensity. And I did like it better than 13 Lives.
yeah.
I just in the music and everything. I mean, I gush over it in the other podcast. But yeah, that's my number two.
Sure. Yeah. A lot of people would put that at number one, actually. I know a lot of people like that movie, and I like it too. I think it's
Hmm.
really, really well done on every level.
Yeah, yeah.
But my number one is one that goes back to my childhood, growing up watching this movie many times. It's right over my shoulder. It's called Willow.
Oh, you talked about this
Willow,
before briefly. Yeah,
yeah, Willow
yeah.
from 1988. This is a fantasy film,
Hmm.
story by George Lucas, creator of Star Wars, and it's actually a Lucasfilm production.
Hmm.
ILM did all the effects, and it's just really, really fun. It's a really charming, whimsical kind of adventure, fairy tale type story where these characters, all these different characters, kind of meet up and go on this adventure together. It's got a lot of humor in it as well, which is fun. There's also some kind of scary moments, which is cool. They do some interesting things with creature effects and things like that I really like in it. Warwick Davis is the main character,
Hmm.
and you have Val Kilmer in there as well, playing a
Yeah.
really fun character too. So it's just one of those that I can turn on anytime. I've watched it, I don't know how many times over the years, and I'd still get a kick out of it. James Horner does the score, which is a really, really good theme that he has for Willow in there. It's really well shot by Adrian Biddle, who did Aliens, The Princess Bride, which it kind of has that same kind of tone and feel. And he ended up shooting The Mummy in 1999. So
Oh,
yeah, good cinematography as well. I really enjoy it. It's just a fun adventure movie. Have you seen Willow?
I have not. I need to
Okay,
find that one and watch it. Yeah, it
they're
sounds like one. I mean, sounds kind of like it looks kind of like the movie Labyrinth, which I'm a big fan of.
oh yeah, it has Labyrinth vibes too. Yeah, I think it came out around the same time,
Yeah, yeah. So I'd probably
late
like it,
80s.
but
Yeah,
I've never seen Willow.
yeah, they're doing a Willow series on Disney Plus that drops, I think, in November.
I read
Um,
something about that, or I don't know if it was on the Real World, but yeah, I knew something else was coming out.
yeah, they're doing a series.
Yep.
Warwick Davis is coming back.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, so it should be
Cool.
fun. It's like 30 years later, what's happening
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Willow, and new story, new characters. But
Gotcha.
one thing I'll also mention on this is the new series on Disney Plus, Light and Magic, which is all about Industrial Light and Magic, the visual effects company.
Right.
And they have a whole episode on Willow and kind of
Oh,
the crazy things that they did that were revolutionary at the time for that film. So if you haven't seen that, I think it's 6 episodes. It takes you through the whole history of ILM all the way up to present day. So I'd highly recommend checking out Light and Magic if you're at all interested in film or visual effects. What's your number one Ron Howard movie?
okay. My number one actually is A Beautiful Mind.
Oh, great. Okay, cool.
Yeah. This is one that I would put on the list pretty high up of films that really affected me.
Oh,
It
yeah.
kind of has that Sixth Sense sort of thing to it, where there's a surprise ending, and it kind of gives a whole different spin to the entire film.
Yeah.
I actually saw Beautiful Mind twice in the theater. I was
Oh,
just
wow.
blown away first time I saw it, and
Yeah.
rushed back pretty quickly to see it again.
Yeah.
And it's fun to go back, just like with Sixth Sense, and see if there's any cheats, like how much
Right.
they give away for that these characters aren't really there and stuff.
Right.
And they're pretty honest about it. Like they don't
Yeah.
really cheat, which is very rewarding to find that out when you go and watch it again.
Yeah, that is cool.
And just some tremendous performances in this. I
Mm,
think the film score, if I had to make a top 20, it's probably in there, because this is one of my favorite film scores of all time. It's
yeah.
one I listened to on CD independently of the film multiple
Oh, wow.
times. It's just a terrific film all around.
Yeah.
Probably a 5 out of 5 for me.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I was thoroughly impressed with it. Seeing it for the first time this week, I really enjoyed every second. Like I said, it's just excellent. The performances to me is the main thing that just stands out. The actors all are just so good in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, good pick for number one for sure.
Yeah.
A couple honorable mentions. I already talked about it in another podcast, which is why I didn't mention it here. Is Far and Away, which is way up there as far as my favorite Ron Howard films. I know a lot of people don't like that movie. I've discovered over the years, which is very odd to me. I don't know why, but I like that one. I like Cinderella Man, another Russell Crowe.
That's a good one. Yeah, I did like that one.
Yeah, I considered that one for the list. I really like that
Me
movie.
too.
One that I rewatched that I actually liked even better I read the book it's based on. It's another true story. It's called In the Heart of the Sea.
Oh, I saw that in the
Um,
theater. That was a
yeah,
good movie.
yeah, I like that one a lot. It's a true story that inspired Moby Dick,
Right.
and they do a great job with that one. I also rewatched Solo, Star Wars story, which I think I like that movie more every time I watch it. I think it is super
Really.
fun.
I need
I
to
think
watch that.
yeah, you should. You should. It's it's its own thing. It very much feels like a Star Wars movie, but it's unique. It's
Mhm.
not like the saga films. It's very much a Ron Howard movie, but it's again, it's Ron Howard in a sci-fi action mode, which is different.
Mhm.
So it has a unique feel. It's kind of more of a heist film, really, is kind of
Oh,
what it is. It's
okay.
at its core. So yeah, it's good. It's really good. I really like that movie. Splash is another one I enjoy. Tom Hanks. I like that one too. So yeah, those are a couple honorable mentions I wanted to mention. Do you have any honorable
I
mentions?
just want to mention one, and that's the movie Ransom. Have you ever seen that with
I have
Mel?
not seen that. That's a
No.
Mel Gibson one, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's really intense, and
Okay.
probably it might have knocked off one of these from my
Mm,
list if I had time to watch it this last week, but I didn't. But
yeah.
it's really good.
Okay.
It's kind of a twist on the standard kidnapping thing. I think
Right.
his daughter or someone is kidnapped, and it was
Mm-hmm.
sort of the first film where he gets the call like we want money, in exchange for your child, and he tells them off and hangs up on them, and then he's like breaking down emotionally, and his wife is like, "Are you crazy?" And it's just like
Wow.
it goes against what you would normally see, I guess, in
Sure.
that kind of situation. And
Hmm.
he plays it tremendously. It's
Yeah.
just a very well made film if you get a chance to watch it.
Yeah. I'll look for that one for sure. That's cool. Now we're going to move on to Bullet Train. So, Bullet Train is a movie that was released this weekend. It stars Brad Pitt, and the entire movie takes place on a bullet train, as the title suggests. So,
I did not get to see it, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah, that's fine. I just want to break down my thoughts briefly, and then we're gonna rank our favorite Brad Pitt movies. So
Okay.
this movie's directed by David Leitch, who's one of these up and coming directors who's been in the business for years. I mean, decades actually. He was a stuntman for Brad Pitt on Fight Club.
Oh,
So he's actually doubled Brad Pitt, I think, in a couple other movies as well. But he's one of these stunt guys that's been around for a while. I think he worked on the Matrix movies as well. He first thing he co-directed with fellow stuntman Chad Stahelski was John Wick.
mm,
So he co-directed that with Stahelski, and then he went out on his own and directed a movie called Atomic Blonde with Charlize
I
Theron.
saw that. Yeah.
Then he ended up directing Deadpool 2.
Oh,
And then he did the
he
Fast and
directed
Furious.
Deadpool too.
He did. He directed
Yeah,
Deadpool
that's a
2.
great
Yeah.
film. I like that
Yeah.
movie.
And then he did the Fast and Furious spinoff Hobbs and Shaw. So he's
Okay.
directed a handful of movies. And this is kind of his latest action extravaganza.
Hmm.
And I think it's by far his best movie.
Really? Wow.
I liked Atomic Blonde. I like parts of Deadpool 2. I wasn't a huge fan of Hobbs and Shaw, but and John Wick, he's actually not credited as director. I think it's some DGA rules or something because he
Oh.
co-directed it. I don't know
Hmm.
what happened there, but he's not actually credited as a director on John Wick. But of the other films he's made, I would say this is his best. I think this
Okay.
blends the action comedy elements
Okay.
that he has in like Deadpool 2, for example, with the kind of grittier, maybe it's probably his most emotionally driven film. I think the
Hmm.
characters have a greater level of humanity than they do in a lot of his other movies. I think this is just an example of him getting better as a filmmaker for
Yeah.
me. It's great cast. We mentioned Brad Pitt, of course, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry, Hiroyuki Sanada, who's a Japanese actor I really like. Michael Shannon is in this.
Oh, I like him. Yeah.
There's a couple of fun cameos as well, and some other actors that I like in it too. But it's a memorable movie because it's this very intense kind of fast-paced action film, but the characters have a lot of personality, and I really liked each character in it, how they're introduced, the way we get their backstories. It's just really, really well done. It's a very kind of light, easy watch, even with the kind of brutal violence that's going on. Some of it has a kind of like, I don't want to say cartoony, but a little bit of an over the top kind of element to
Okay.
it. Where it's not, we just watched The Gray Man, right? So it's not that more grounded, kind of gritty
Okay.
style. It's more over the top and kind of,
Okay.
silly a little bit almost. But again,
Yeah.
it's grounded in this kind of emotional story they start the movie off with that kind of hooks you in,
Okay.
to take you all the way through. And each character, like I said, they have a lot of personality and very different types of personalities. So I just enjoyed it. I thought the blend of all that together, I think that's a difficult thing to do, to balance that kind of tone. And I think
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
did a good job with it overall.
Okay.
So it's just a good looking movie too. It's very well shot.
Yeah.
Some of the effects are a little wonky, especially towards the end of the movie.
Oh.
But again, they kind of earn that as it kind of builds towards this climax. So I didn't mind it too much. The lighting, there's a couple of shots where the lighting is coming in from the windows of the train that are just really well done.
Hmm.
It's a very stylish film, which I liked. Good score, a couple of good needle drops, good song choices that they picked throughout. And like I said, it's a lot of characters. So there's kind of this interweaving story that you don't
Hmm.
really understand. You're kind of thrown into it and you kind of get what Brad Pitt's character is doing, but you don't know what else is going on. And as you meet each character, you kind of get how they're connected to this kind of larger
Okay.
story,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is really cool. I really like movies that do that.
Yeah.
And this one
Yeah.
I thought did it very well.
Makes it more rewarding at the end when you find out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice.
It's one of
Okay.
those. It's one of those kinds of movies. So, yeah, all in all, I had a lot of fun watching this. My brother and I went to the
Yeah.
theater and saw it, and we just had a great time. So,
Nice.
overall, I'm at probably 4 stars here.
Okay.
I really, really had a good time watching it. I don't know if it'll hold up as well on rewatch.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
have to wait and see for that. But Brad Pitt specifically, he's playing a very different. He's not like action guy Brad Pitt here. I mean,
Hmm.
he is. He has all the skills, but his
Yeah.
character very much. He's very against violence at this point in his life. He's kind of given up the assassin life that he used to
Hmm.
live, and he's
Okay.
just doing snatch and grabs right now. But
Yeah.
he's caught up in this story where he's kind
Uh,
of forced to fight all these guys on this train.
okay.
And so he's kind of
Huh.
trying not to use lethal force, and it makes for a lot of good humor.
Hmm.
Um, but it also makes for an interesting character that we can follow and root for throughout the movie. So I found it very compelling and had a great time watching it.
Yeah, it's one I really want to see. Did it make a lot? Is it making a lot of money so far at the box office?
Yeah, it did really well opening day. I haven't looked at
Yeah.
the weekend totals yet, but I know
Yeah.
it did very well on preview showings and on Friday.
I
So
bet. Yeah. It
I'm,
has kind of a high concept
yeah, right,
to it, which
exactly.
can often bring bucks. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, our theater on Friday night was pretty full.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, looking forward to you watching it and seeing what your take is on it. All right, let's jump into our top three Brad Pitt movies. So this is an actor who's obviously been around for quite a while. He had really his breakout role in Thelma and Louise back in the 90s. And from there, just made kind of hit after hit. I mean, he had a lot of big movies in the 90s and throughout the 2000s as well. So I'll kick us off with my number three, which is The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
Oh, sure.
Uh,
Yep. I've
this
seen
is a
this.
yeah, this is came out in 2008, and it's a David Fincher film. And these two have collaborated multiple times. Their first collaboration, I believe, was on Seven, and then on Fight Club,
Hmm.
which are two very popular movies that I also considered for the list. But Benjamin Button, I remember watching this. It was fairly recently, a year, maybe 2 years
Hmm.
ago, and I was just fascinated with the story they were telling. I really liked the whole idea of it. I think it's based on a book about this character who ages backwards, right? So he's born as an old man, and as he gets older, he's looking younger. but he's still learning like a regular child would. So
Yeah.
it's just a fascinating idea. And to translate that to screen, I think is so challenging. And they met the challenge head on, and Fincher and Pitt, they just really knocked it out of the park. I think his performance to track that as an actor had to have been difficult, because
Yeah.
you're not shooting in order,
Yeah.
and
The editing's
so
key. Yeah.
right, the editing is a major part of it, and it's a pretty long movie. It's because it covers his whole life, and his relationships, his relationship mainly with Kate Blanchett's character, who's also excellent in this movie. But the visual effects and the makeup, I think, are, I don't know if they've ever been outdone. I think they're so well done here, that to help you connect with the character, they have to be top level. And I think they work all the way throughout the movie. So it's a very layered performance, again, because we're getting him throughout his whole life. It's just this kind of really interesting movie, that stays with you. I feel like it's very memorable, in its imagery and in its storytelling. That, yeah, I had to put it on the list because it's just one that stayed with me, that I've only seen once, but it's still one that I just remember really well, experiencing that. So yeah, that's my number three. What's yours?
Yeah, well, just to say something real quick on Benjamin
Yeah.
Button. I saw it once shortly after it came out. I
Okay.
considered it for this list because I remember it probably, possibly is the best character that Brad Pitt has been able to get into
Yeah.
and display on the screen. I
Right.
just felt from memory at least that it wasn't better than the three I ended up choosing. But
Sure.
for him as an actor, it's like the role of a lifetime, right?
Absolutely. I totally agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I included it, because maybe that's something we can talk about too here, is how we went about choosing these. I did specifically more look at his performance
Mhm.
than the movie overall.
Yeah, yeah. And I had kind
Um,
of a mixture of it.
yeah,
That was the next thing I was gonna say is actually, it was a bit difficult to know how to pick. I don't know
right.
why with this actor in particular, because there's quite a few decent Brad Pitt movies I've seen.
Sure.
And then I did find three that I think are good ones,
Hmm.
but only one that I think is I'm sorry. I number three, okay, let me just do my number three.
Sure, sure. Go
And
ahead.
then
Go
I'll
ahead.
explain it as I go because
Sure.
it's too complicated to explain it
Yeah.
otherwise.
Go ahead.
So number three is a very, very good movie, but he's not in it. He's not sort of the main star, and that's Ocean's 11.
Okay, great. Yeah, I considered that one too, but when I thought
Yeah.
about it, I thought it's an ensemble film, so maybe not, but
Yeah.
a
And
totally valid pick.
yeah, and if I'd gone back and watched a few others, I might have put them above Ocean's 11 because
Right.
as a personal as a single role, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously it's spread out over 11 guys,
Yes,
but it's
yes.
such a good, well-made film and funny
Yeah.
film, and
Yeah,
Brad Pitt carries most of the humor in it,
he does.
or I shouldn't say most because there's so many
Right.
funny people in it,
Sure.
but it's just such a good movie, and he's so
Yeah.
funny in it.
Yeah.
It's probably his best comedic role
Yeah.
that I've seen him in. And
Right.
so sadly, I didn't even have time to watch that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, that I decided that I'd still throw it in there because the movie itself is so good. And he's
Yeah.
definitely one of the best of the 11, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And he's, if you had to pick a main character, it would be him and George Clooney, right? I mean, it's kind of they're kind of co-leads of this
Yeah.
team,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So again, totally valid pick. And yeah, it's a great film. Soderbergh, we got to do a Soderbergh podcast because I've seen a lot of his movies and I'm a big fan of him as well.
Okay.
And yeah, he's great in that. Good pick. Good pick.
Yeah.
All right, on to my number two, which is 12 Monkeys.
Mm.
12 Monkeys came out in 1995. It's directed by the mad genius Terry Gilliam. This guy makes the
Right.
weirdest
Right.
movies, but I think they're all great.
Yeah.
Everything I've seen by him, I've liked. So
Ah,
it's this time travel movie, post-apocalyptic. Got to go back in time and save humanity. Bruce Willis is the lead of this one. So this is Pitt in a supporting role, and he was actually
mhm.
nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars for this
Was he?
role.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, which I was surprised by because they usually don't do genre films, but this one, it's I would say it's Pitt's most unique performance. He's off the rails here. I mean, he's playing
Yeah.
a psychotic kind of character who's in this insane asylum and meets Bruce Willis, and he has all these ticks and these
Hmm.
very specific mannerisms he's doing, and
Yeah.
the specific look. It's just it's the one that stands out in my mind the most when I think about Brad Pitt performances. It's just so different from anything I've seen him do, and
Yeah.
the dialogue he delivers and everything is just so well done.
Hmm.
This is a movie I've visited a couple of times, and he's always the standout role for me. And
Yeah.
Willis is great as always. There's other actors in it that are good, but yeah, Pitt definitely stands out here for many reasons.
Yeah, and I've seen it. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I do
Okay.
remember Brad Pitt's performance, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how he got to that place where he
Yeah.
embodied that person, because
Right.
it is very off the rails
Yeah.
and a very good performance.
It is.
I did consider that film, but the problem
Yeah.
is I didn't really like the film that much.
Oh, okay.
It was
Okay.
a little too out there for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad movie. It was
Yeah.
just a little bit. Kind of all over the place.
Yeah. It's
I don't know.
weird.
I'm not a huge Terry Gilliam fan.
Okay.
Like, I
Yeah.
don't think he makes bad movies. They're just
Right.
more, I want to say more artsy
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
normal. And
They're
it
very
just,
right. They're very
yeah,
different. They're very unique. Like his own, he has
yeah,
very much his own style. And he's
right.
one of those directors that I feel like you kind of either love him or hate him. There's a few out there like that have this, their style is so specific that not everyone's going to connect with it. So
Yeah,
it's
that's exactly
understandable.
it. Is I didn't really connect with it. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I
but
hear
I
you.
understand it's a very good performance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
by
Right.
Brad Pitt. Yeah.
All right. What's your number two?
Yeah, my number two pick, actually, I kind of went in the opposite direction character wise. I chose Ad Astra from
Hmm.
2019, and
Yeah.
he's kind of playing. If there's an antithesis to whatever the character's name is that he plays in 12 Monkeys, it might
Yeah.
be an Ad
Right.
Astra. I mean, he's playing a character that's very introverted and
Yes.
introspective
Right.
and doesn't really even want connections with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a chance to rewatch this
Oh,
one, and I
cool.
liked it the first time and on the rewatch. I
Yeah.
just like the complexities of a character that is dealing with this sort of massive situation that's kind of hard to relate with,
Yeah.
of trying to travel such a gigantic distance and possibly
Right.
meet his father and this kind of stuff.
Right.
There are obviously some similarities to Interstellar, but
Sure.
this is not Interstellar, but
Yeah. Yeah.
there's not quite as many you know big action, or big action set pieces like there is in
Yeah.
Interstellar.
Sure.
And Ad Astra is a slow burn drama.
Mm-hmm.
So I just really enjoy where he gets to with this character, and I've
Yeah.
seen him play a lot of sort of really out there. I think, wasn't he in Snatch, and he played sort of like a really sort of lively, crazy
Yeah.
guy, and those are
Yes.
good performances,
Yeah.
just like in 12 Monkeys. But
Right.
I chose this just because I like the dynamics between him and his father.
Yeah.
It's got kind of a really heartbreaking ending, but
Yeah.
the look of the film is really good. It's got a
Yeah.
really warm palette,
Yes.
almost soft focus and like daydreamish at
Right.
times,
Right. Right.
surreal,
Yeah.
and it does have some really good short bits of action, like the very beginning when he's falling from this. I guess in the future there's this international space antenna, and
Right.
he falls from, and that's just one of the
Yeah.
moments that are pretty good.
Yeah.
They don't dwell too long on that. It's just a
Right.
really good, sort of almost like a dreamlike
Yeah.
drama.
Yeah. It is that.
And
Yeah. That's a great movie. It's another one I
yeah,
considered because, yeah, it's like you said, it's the opposite of 12 Monkeys, where it's a great performance that's just internal. It's
yes,
all
yeah, it's
like,
a very mature performance.
it
Yeah.
is exactly. It's very well done, very
Mhm,
well shot, edited. Like you said, the visual style is just superb.
mhm,
Really like the cinematography in that movie, and yeah, it has that kind of, like you said, ethereal, dreamlike
yeah.
quality to it, that's very unique. So yeah, that's one that I would like to revisit. I've only seen it once, but
Mhm.
it definitely left an impression. All right, so on to my number one, which is The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford.
Ah,
This is a 2007 Western directed by a guy named Andrew Dominic. They reteamed a couple years later for another movie I really like called Killing Them Softly, which is another good Brad Pitt performance. But this is another one shot by the great Roger Deakins, who we mentioned earlier. He actually got an Oscar nomination for this movie. It's beautifully lit and shot, and Pitt just does a great job embodying this sort of larger than life, outlaw at the time. It's supposed to be pretty historically accurate from what I understand. And it has this very kind of realistic, gritty quality to it. It's not your action packed Western.
Hmm.
It's very much more contemplative character study, really,
Okay.
between these two characters, Jesse James and Robert Ford. Robert Ford is played by Casey Affleck,
Oh,
who is also nominated for Best Supporting Actor for this one.
wow.
And it's all about their relationship. It's just really, really well done, well written. Again, good visual storytelling. The performances are just excellent. I think Pitt
Mm,
here is kind of just on another level.
really?
Again, this one's more internal. This one is not a big
Yeah.
bombastic performance.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very much, what's going on in this guy's life and how he's dealing with it. Just very memorable. It very much stands out in my mind. This movie, I've seen a couple of times. It's very long. I think it's right around 3 hours, but it's a really good, again, kind of a slow burn, like you were talking about with Ad Astra, that kind of more
Hmm.
internal type
Hmm.
of performance. Music is really good here too. Nick Cave, who's a musician I really like, did the score with Warren Ellis, who's in a band with him, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
Heard of
Um,
them? Yeah.
yeah, they're really good, and they deliver some good music here. So yeah, I like this one a lot. It ended up on a lot of top 10 films of the year lists when it came out, and it's
Oh,
kind of
wow.
been looked back at as one of the great kind of modern westerns. And so yeah, it's a movie I just overall like it a lot, and Pitt specifically in it I think does a very, very good job, again playing a different type of role than you typically see him in.
Yeah. I need to find that one. I was not expecting
Yeah.
you to say that as your number one because I mean I've heard of it, but I don't
Yeah.
really. I mean, no, I've never heard anybody talk about it.
Yeah, a
But
lot of people
why we
don't
do the
talk about it.
podcast? That's
It's
why we do the
yeah,
podcast.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It went under the radar for sure. I don't think it made a
Yeah.
lot of money. It's
Right.
not one that people talk about, but it's one I've seen a
Yeah.
couple times. I discovered it being a huge fan of the genre, and I always
Hmm.
seek out kind of modern westerns because there aren't a lot of them. They don't make
Yeah.
westerns a lot anymore, and so
Right.
whenever I see one, I check it out. And this one was one that stood out big time. So
That's good to know. I mean,
yeah,
that's it's good to shed some light on ones that people need to see that went under the radar
right.
for sure.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So what's your number one Brad Pitt movie?
Okay, my number one Brad Pitt movie is the epic 1998 3-hour drama Meet Joe Black.
Oh, wow. Okay. I have not seen this.
I really hope you can see this.
Okay.
Meet Joe Black. Just to kind of give a brief recap, it's based on an older film, like a
Oh,
really old film, like a 1930s film,
okay.
and it's about a character who's playing the Grim Reaper, Death, and
Oh,
he visits a man, and in this case, at least in the modern film, because I haven't seen the original,
yeah.
he visits a man. And Grim Reaper's played by Brad Pitt,
Okay.
and he visits a man played by Anthony Hopkins, who's like
Oh,
this. He's like a rich tycoon,
okay.
and he tells them right up front. I mean, he kind of figures out who he is, and he
Mm,
tells them kind of like, "You're on the clock. I'm here to embody this person, so I can." It's almost like he wants to see what it would be like to live life as a human for a little while
yeah.
before he
Yeah.
takes Anthony Hopkins' character off into the sunset
Okay.
for
Okay.
his time to expire.
Yeah.
And it's this is just as good as drama gets. I
Mm,
I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed this film. It's three
yeah.
hours long, and you would think, and it's another introspective slow burn by
Yeah.
everybody. Like almost everybody
Right.
in it is pretty low key.
Yeah.
But I'm not bored for 1 minute. I mean, I just
Wow.
it's a really beautiful film to look at.
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins, he's playing more American here,
Okay.
but you really feel like you can sympathize with him because he's been on top of the world his whole
Mm,
life, and now we get to see, like, I think it's like a maybe a 3-day period
mm,
where he's reduced to where he just absolutely has to literally stare death in the face, but acknowledge everything around him, and he evaluates, did I leave a good life? What should I do
mm,
before I wrap it up? Like,
mm.
there's so many big
Wow.
concepts in this
Yeah.
film, and
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins just he just melts my soul. He is so
Wow.
good in this movie.
Yeah.
um Claire Forlani plays his daughter,
Okay.
and I haven't seen much from her, but
Yeah.
she's terrific. She's a
Mm,
beautiful actress.
hmm.
And I don't want to get into much in case you see it with what
Yeah.
happens with her,
Yeah.
but she meets Grim Reaper as well.
Okay.
And then Jeffrey Tambor is a
Oh.
great supporting role, plays the son-in-law. Marcia Gay Harden is just tremendous
Mm,
as the other daughter of Anthony Hopkins. She just plays this like super like relatable, loving daughter, and it's just all I can say is it's just very relatable, and it. I personally, I think there's so many like potential Oscar-worthy performances in this movie,
okay. Yeah.
and few people have seen it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could go on and on. I could do probably an hour on this film, but
Yeah.
just suffice it to say, it's basically 5 stars, at least
Okay.
4.5. And
Okay.
run, don't walk to your streaming service of choice to catch this movie if you can.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. I have heard about it. I didn't know much about it. So
Mhm.
that's you have me intrigued for sure. So
You
I'll
get three
be
hours, you know.
whenever I get 3 hours, I'll check it out.
It's so good character wise. I
Yeah,
mean, oh, it's good.
that's
Yeah.
great. That's great. Good, 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 good choice. All right, so those are our top three Brad Pitt movies. I've got a couple honorable mentions. He's been in so many movies, so many that I like. So I wanted to mention a few more. Troy, I really like Troy. Wolfgang
I
Peterson
have that on
directed it.
Blu-ray.
Yeah, yeah, it looks really good. It's a great looking
Yeah.
film.
Hmm.
2004. We don't get a lot of these kind of sword and sandals epics much anymore. There used to be all the rage back in like the 50s, but we don't get a whole lot of those. And I think this one is one of the better ones that we've gotten recently. Great action, great cast. I mean, huge, huge ensemble cast of just great actors. So that was one I enjoyed. One that I actually almost included on the list because I'm such a big fan of this movie, Sinbad Legend of the Seven Seas. This is an
Oh,
animated movie.
oh, okay.
He did in 2003.
Ah,
DreamWorks produced it. And I feel like it just does not get enough love. This is, if you're a fan
hmm,
of like um, swashbuckling adventure, like Pirates of the Caribbean,
hmm,
this is one you should watch because it is just so
hmm.
much fun. Really well animated, great, very colorful. Brad Pitt voices Sinbad. You have Catherine Zeta-Jones, Joseph Fiennes, David Hasbert is in this as well. And so just great cast, really fun, enjoyable kind of action comedy
Hmm.
with some fantastical elements. Michelle Pfeiffer is the villain in it. So it's a fun one. The whole family can enjoy. Fury is excellent.
I
Fury
haven't
is
seen that one.
the tank movie, World War II. He's part of
Oh,
this tank battalion, and
okay.
it's intense and it's
Huh.
gritty. Does not hold back from the horrors of war, but it's very well done.
Yeah.
He's good in that. The Devil's Own with Harrison Ford.
I never saw that
Um,
one.
yeah, I like that one. That one's came out in 97. Alan Pakula directed it. He's known for his kind of like conspiracy thrillers. He did All the President's Men, Parallax
Oh,
View, all these like 70s political thrillers
yeah.
that are really good. And he does a good job with that one as well.
Hmm.
Um, Another one where he does an Irish accent, Devil's Own. He plays an Irish character,
Oh, is that right? Okay.
just like he does in Snatch,
Well,
which
this the one in
Snatch,
Snatch is kind of like his own twist on an Irish accent, isn't
yeah,
it?
it's like a super Irish. It's like you can't even understand what he's saying. you
Which is
know,
kind of funny at times.
it
Yeah.
is. It's very funny. I like Snatch a lot. That was another one I thought about. I like Guy Ritchie a
Mhm.
lot as a filmmaker, and that's might be my favorite Guy Ritchie movie.
Mm.
Um, Seven, I mentioned briefly when we were talking about Fincher. Of course, that one's really good. Him and Morgan Freeman, Fight Club as well, with Ed Norton. Legends of the Fall, I think, is very good. Came
I
out in
never saw that one.
94. Yeah,
Hmm.
Edward Zwick directed it. He did
Oh, Glory.
several Glory, yeah, Last Samurai. He's done some good
Hmm.
kind of historical epics, was kind of his
Yeah.
speciality. It's World War One era,
Hmm.
and it's basically he's one of three brothers, and you kind of follow them throughout their life, the
Oh.
war and after the war, and Anthony Hopkins is in that one as well,
Hmm.
and so plays the father of these three, and it's a really good one. River Runs Through It with which was directed by Robert Redford, another kind of
Oh.
period drama
Okay.
that I like a lot. And then I'll mention another one. Have you heard of Cool World?
Is that a sort of an animated kind of
Yeah, it's animation
thing?
live action hybrid, like Who Framed
Yeah.
Roger
Yeah.
Rabbit.
Yeah. So I've heard of it, but never saw it. Yeah.
It's
Is it good?
really it's different.
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
acquired taste.
Okay.
It's if you like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but you just kind
All
of
right.
took that up to 11
Yeah. Yeah.
and went wackier with it and kind of
Oh.
more adult with
Mm-hmm.
it as well. It's not a kids movie at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's interesting. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah.
I haven't revisited it, but it's definitely different, and it's very early Brad Pitt. It's like second
Mm.
or third movie he made.
Oh, okay.
Right after he did Thelma and Louise, I think he did it.
Oh.
So yeah, it's interesting if you like those types of movies. Did you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I'll name three. One, I actually haven't seen any of these in a while, but The Mexican with Julia
Oh
Roberts.
yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah, it was pretty good. Another one was Sleepers. Have you seen Sleepers?
I think I've seen that.
It's an ensemble cast.
Okay.
It's about these. I think there's three boys, or maybe it's four. That back in the '60s were abused by. See, it's been a while. I think
Yeah.
maybe someone in the church or something, and then
Mm.
the modern day versions of them are played by Brad Pitt and a bunch of other actors that you would
Oh,
know.
okay.
And Kevin Bacon plays this just absolutely vile
Oh,
character.
okay.
But it's very disturbing, but it was a very
Yeah.
good drama. Very good
Okay.
drama if you get a chance to see that one. It's I think it's 3 hours long, that one as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then the other one I wanted to mention is Inglorious Bastards. Have you seen that
Yeah.
one?
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and but
Tarantino.
see, it doesn't really. It's not necessarily Brad Pitt's film. I mean, there's so many performances in that by,
Yeah.
I guess, other actors that maybe are even more impressive or dominant. You know?
Sure. Yeah. He is very memorable in that role for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, there is a lot going on in that movie, different
hmm,
characters, storylines, and
yeah,
but yeah, that's a good performance. I like him in that too.
yeah, yep.
Good. All right. Those are good honorable mentions. All right. So that will do it for us here on the Real World Podcast, episode 15. Thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't checked out any of the other episodes, be sure to go back and check those out. We have a playlist of all of our podcast episodes available on the channel right now, as well as all of our other unboxing videos, collection videos, other reviews, reactions, all kinds of things. So take a look at the channel. Be sure to hit the like button. Also, hit subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications of all the videos we've got here. Like I said before, if you're a movie fan, you're definitely going to get a lot out of this channel. Thanks so much for joining us again, Bert.
You bet. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, we had a good time on this episode. Be sure to leave a comment below as well. We want to know what you thought of all these movies that we talked about. Also, give us your rankings of the Predator franchise, of Ron Howard's movies, of Brad Pitt's movies. We want to know all about it in the comments below and start a conversation. So be sure to do that. And we'll see you next time right here on The Real World.